evening, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. Today, we are presenting webinar on Lead Yourself First, organized by Applied Science and Humanities Department of Parul Polytechnic Institute, Parul University. Leading to yourself reveals our interests and values, and it gives us the right direction. Hence, the main agenda of this webinar is to keep us from leading people where we don't want to go. I, Vaishali Nathwani, would like to introduce today's guest speaker, the founder of Led Up Institute, 6X Ville, and an author and professional speaker, Chelly Grace from Miami. She is an expert on leadership, communication, and PR. She was a professional model for a short period before working in corporate job. She wanted to stand out and share her passion, so she wrote a book that turned into a 6X international book series published by Ville, and she strategized her brand and became an industry expert. She was a regular on Fox News, hired as a professional speaker on platforms of 300 plus, and created a coaching and consulting practice. Now she strategically teaches leaders, business owners, and professionals the profitable action steps to become an industry expert and recognized thought leader so that they can create massive and multiple streams of income. She creates scalable and sustainable systems that we can manage as we continue to work in a corporate job, start a new company, or just want another income stream. It is a privilege to welcome you, ma'am, and you can start with the session.
Thank you. It's great being here with all of you, and welcome. I'm here to share with you my system of lead yourself first. So, who am I? I was just like you. I was very passionate about what I was doing in my life. I was at the time a school principal, and I had a message to share. So what I do now is I help people that are professionals, that are business owners. I help them with their intellectual property because all of us have knowledge. All of us have something to share to make the world the better place or to give information to other people that it's going to make their life better. So why did I create this system? At the time, like I said, I was a school principal and I've always been in education. I love sharing my knowledge with others to help them move on in the journey of life. So at this time, what happened was No Child Left Behind and school choice came into the United States. It was a program that was put together for parents by the government so that parents could have a choice into the schools that their children could attend. I had two small children at home, and being in the industry as a principal, because I was a professional, I really didn't understand all of the different rules and ramifications that parents could access to help their children succeed and go to another school if they chose to. So what I did was I started doing my research, and I decided to put together a book out of my passion to help others. And that book, very interestingly enough, turned into this big, huge business, which I'll share with you in a moment. But I wanted to take a moment because so many of you have information, have knowledge, have a passion in what you do. And maybe you've been thinking about putting a book together or writing a course or speaking on a stage to be able to share this passion. So what I did was I had to create this system, and this is why I'm sharing it with you, because when I started this one book, it's like anything in life. It was to help other people. And the book turned into a 6-time international best-selling series with Wiley, who's a New York publishing house. I took on a partner because the project was so big, and I became an industry expert. I started speaking on stages. I was a Fox education news expert, and you can see me there on Fox. And at the same time, I was a mother, a daughter, I was a wife, I had a career, and it was a lot. So I've created this system so that others can do the same and not burn out in the process. So we're going to start because I want you to take a moment and I want you to visualize right now where do you would like to be? Because maybe you're at the university, you're finishing up. Maybe some of you are listening to this webinar and you're in the world of work. You've established yourself in your career. It doesn't really matter where you are, because we're here to always grow and learn and keep on moving. This is part of what our life journey is. So take a moment and think, where do you want to be? And I want you to hold that thought, because so many people say, well, I know where I want to be, but I just don't know how to get there. Well, I'm going to share 3 tips with you that is going to help you move you on that journey of where you want to be. So we're always starting with the end in mind, because we need to know where we're going. And once we know where we're going and where we want to go, then it's easy to know how to get there. Now, I want to take a moment, because as you know, when I was writing my first book, I was really, really busy. I was managing a team of 150 people in the school that I had my responsibilities for. I was also a lead principal, which meant I worked with my bosses, and I coach and mentored 20 principals under me when they needed my assistance. I also was very involved in my community, and I sat on a board to give back. I was part of the chamber. And I also had a home life. I was taking care of, my parents. I had my 2 school-age children, and I had a marriage that was challenging. So all of these things were going on in my life. And sometimes, like all of us, we always put ourselves last. So I want you to take a moment to think about that, because this is not selfish, what I'm going to say. But it's important to think about yourself. It's important to know that if you're leading other people, you need to lead yourself first. You need to know who you are. You need to know where you want to go. Because if not, how are others going to follow you? How can you be a role model for others if we're exhausted, if we're tired, if we're not sharing our passion with others, if we're not fulfilled in what we're doing in our lives? So know where you're going and know how you're going to get there. So I'm going to share today with you the 3 keys that you need to know to lead yourself first. The first one is clarity. Then we have focus. And then we have resilience. And once you do this, you're going to rinse and repeat it. You're always going to be clear. You're always going to be focused, and also need to tap into resilience. What is clarity? Well, clarity is something that many of us think we have, but we really don't. Because a lot of times we still don't know what we want to do. We still don't know where we want to go. And I love to quote Simon Sinek, because he's great. And he wrote that book, What's Your Why? So we always need to think about, okay, what is the reason that I'm doing this? What is my why? Is it something intrinsic inside of me? Is it something that is necessary? What is the why? Or is it something that you're doing because you just think it needs to be done? And many times we really need to get clear with the why, because if we don't have a clear why, nothing else is clear in our lives, and we're never going to succeed if we don't have clarity. And just like you lead teams, when you lead people, you have to be very clear of the message that you give them and of the outcomes that you share of where you want to go or where you have to go because of your company or your corporation. If you don't have clarity, you really are lost. And I really feel that. And I've been there. I've been there when I've started my second and third business, that I didn't have the clarity that I had when I started my first. The clarity that I had was my passion to help parents. That was my reason. I had information and I was going to share it at whatever cost, because I felt that helping one child succeed in school was the fuel that was propelling me to write, to keep on moving forward, and to get the message out to all the parents that I could. So that was my why. And because I was so clear, it was kind of, and I don't want to say it wasn't easy, because I did have to put work into it, but everything aligned. and I didn't have many roadblocks. You know how sometimes you start something and things just don't move forward. And so you have to think, okay, why? Maybe I'm not on the right path. Maybe I don't have clarity. Maybe I'm doing this for the wrong reason. So you have to think about that. Why are you doing something? Be very, very clear. What is the outcome that you want to get from it? Be very, very clear. When I was writing my first book, my outcome was to help parents become educational experts, to know that if their child wasn't doing well in school, they could have another option to help their child. And I had all of this industry information, and some of it was my own intellectual property that I put down, and then I started speaking about, and then I create a huge business around it. So clarity is important. Know the reason why you're doing something, know your purpose, and definitely know your why. What's your why? The second key to leading yourself first is to stay focused. And I'm going to give you some tips on this because a lot of times we are moved in 100 directions. And some of us, and I think women tend to do this a little bit more than men, we multitask. We do 2, 3, 4 things at one time, and we spread our focus around. So this sometimes dilutes the clarity. We're not clear. And it's important to be focused. It's important to do one thing at a time. And I have found in my experience that yes, I was one of these people that I could multitask, and I used to be proud of it. Oh, I could do 2 and 3 things at a time. But you know what? The world is moving so fast and things are happening so quickly that if you do continue to do this, you're going to lose your momentum. You're going to get exhausted, and you're going to find that because you don't have clarity, because you're not focused, you're going to burn out, and whatever you're doing isn't going to be as successful. So let me give you these 3 tips on how you can stay focused and always go back to them. First of all, we're going to go over the do it, delegate it, or dump it. Every day in our lives, things come in, right? You wake up in the morning, you have a career, you have a business, you have a family, you're going along through your business. And I want you to think about your day. Take a moment and let's visualize. You visualized where you want to be. Now we're going to visualize you on a day-to-day basis. So you wake up and there you are. You're getting ready to start your day. And all of a sudden you realize, oh my goodness, I have so many things to do. I don't know how I'm going to get through my day. Well, I have an exercise for you. You have to look at all the things that you have given yourself the ability to have to do. Some of those things you have to do it. Some of those things you can delegate it. And here's the big, big golden nugget. Sometimes some of those things you just have to dump and get rid of. Let me give you a quick story. So I was being the principal of the school that I was, and at the time I had closed my first company, which was the book company with the coaching programs for parents, because it had been 9 years that I was working on this, and now I needed to take a break. So my business partner and I, we closed the business and I was moving forward. I, at the time, started to write another book, and I got really busy in my city, in the chamber, giving back, volunteering. So there came a point where I left the education system to start my education business platform, which I work in today. And at the time, I was writing my book, I was starting again to speak, and I was getting really busy. And because I've always been a take charge kind of person, the people that were in the chamber wanted me to take a higher position in volunteering. So there I was, and I said yes, because why not, right? We always want to do more. But what happened to me was that I realized that by taking a higher volunteer position on the executive board of the chamber, I was going to take away from the time that I had to write my book. I was going to take away from the time that I had to give to my family, and I was definitely taking away time from me. Because now not only was I giving a level of responsibility where I would have to go out more into the community, go to more networking events, and be a lot more visible, I also had to give almost 20 hours of my time every week to be part of this wonderful organization. So at that moment, I realized, I have to lead myself first. So it was hard for me to say no, but I had to say no. So I stepped down. And once I stepped down, I realized that I had extra time. I wasn't as stressed because, of course, you're juggling and you want to do all these things. The book started coming out of me effortlessly. I began to speak on more stages, and my business started to grow. I still give back to the chamber in other ways, but my physical presence is something that I just said, no, I can't be part of that. And this is something that I want you to think about, because sometimes we're still doing things that no longer serve us. I had been part of the chamber for 15 years, and 3 of those I was on the board. And that last year that I was asked to be on the executive board was the year that I had realized. And part of that year was when most of this Lead Yourself First program came out, because I realized that we live in a cycle of life. And sometimes what is serving you today and what you're doing today to move you forward into your future, 5 years down the road, maybe what is happening today for you no longer serves you in 5 years. So you have to say, you can't feel guilty, because all of us want to give back. All of us we want to be liked, right? We don't want to hurt people's feelings. So it's so hard to say no to people, but we have to. Just like if you have, and you know that you're working really hard, but here we work smart, not hard, right? And all of a sudden, you have some time to yourself. We all need time to ourselves. All of us do, to be able to kind of rest, reconnect with who we are, reflect, and visualize. And during this time that you have for yourself, and you're extremely happy that you've been able to carve out this time without taking away from any other things that you're doing, your best friend calls. And this is another test, right? Your best friend calls and says, hey, I'm moving this weekend and I need you to come and help me move my entire house, my entire apartment, because I'm counting on you to help me do this. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, I don't want to say no, but at the same time, I need to take a break. So those are the difficult conversations that sometimes you have to have first with yourself and then with your friend. And it's not something that you're going to say, well, I just can't say, right now I need to take care of myself. And I have planned this time for me to reconnect with who I am, to be able to focus more and to be able to see where I'm going. And I'm just not going to be able to move you this weekend. Can you wait till next weekend and maybe I'll help you then? So do it, delegate it, dump it, say no, and don't feel guilty. The third step that I want to share with you is resilience. And resilience is something that we all have within us. Some of us have it more than others, depending on our life experiences. But I know that all of us have it. We just need to learn how to trust and tap into it with our intuition. Getting back to the other 2 keys, clarity and especially focus. We always need to tap into our intuition. And so many times we don't listen to it, because our intuition is what gives us resilience. Resilience is something that all of us go through, because no matter what you do, you're going to come up with a challenge. You're going to come up with an obstacle, but going through it, around it, on top of it, or under it is the difference between a winner and someone that doesn't move forward in their life. So let's say that you have a challenge or an obstacle. How are you going to take care of it? I want you to go back to the other 2 keys, to your clarity and to your focus, because this helps you with your resilience. If you're really clear about where you're going and you're very focused and you're saying no, let's say a challenge comes up. And I had my first challenge when I realized it's a big project. My challenge was I need to bring a business partner on. So that was something that I was trying to figure out how, and I was trying to figure out, how I was going to do it. But it was a challenge that I overcame, and the person that came into my life was really, really, aligned with my values, my mission, everything that I stood for at the time. So sometimes when these obstacles come up, and they could be obstacles where you're not going to be getting that promotion, where maybe the job that you interviewed for doesn't happen. So I want you to think about, do you push forward or do you look at this from a different angle? Because when we have a challenge come into our life, we have to look at it from a different angle. And one of the wise philosophers once said, you can't tackle a problem at the same level that it was created. And I love that quote, because here's the thing. You have to look at things from a different angle, from a different lens, from a different viewpoint. And sometimes that means that we need to take a step back and reflect. Reflection is so important. And I am such a proponent of having reflection in our lives, to be able to see where we've gone, what we've done, and not beat ourselves up because maybe we're not where we thought we were. Many times we're further along than we thought, but we just don't have time to sit and think about it. So resilience is something that gives us that fuel. Resilience is something that helps us navigate the obstacles and the challenges that come into our life. You have to trust and you have to have intuition. And many times it's a test to see what you're really made out of. When you have resilience, when you are on the verge of something great, it's like running a marathon. All of a sudden you're running and you're almost at the finish line. And that last mile, you are out of breath. Your stomach is hurting you. You don't know if you can go. But you tap into that resilience. You go back to that clarity, your purpose, your why. You stay uber focused. And that is how you move forward and you run across the finish line. I have been very successful in my life, but I've had a lot of resilience. When I was writing my books, I didn't hire an agency. I didn't hire a PR company. I did it all myself. I had resilience. I did a lot of research and I realized who I had to go and see and who I had to align myself with so that they knew that my message and they would help it get it out there in a quicker and faster way. Sometimes we have to develop joint ventures or partnerships with others to do what we need to do. That resilience kept me focused and kept me clear. Because many times on the weekends, I had worked 45 or 50 hours during the week. I would sit down and write my book, or I would go and plan my speech. So I was always trying to perfect and to learn. I was always trying to connect with someone. And that took a lot of resilience from me. But I trusted my intuition that I was on the right path. So I always want you to know that when obstacles come into your life or you have a challenge, you have to look at it from a different angle and you have to go back to your clarity and your focus. And sometimes that obstacle or challenge is a red flag telling us that maybe we're not on the right path. Maybe we need to take a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right, or maybe we need to take a step back to observe and to see where we're going. So I'm going to share another story with you because this is important, because sometimes we feel that we're failures if things don't work out the way we thought that they did. So during 2019, I had my education business back on track. I was traveling and speaking on stages. I was doing all kinds of really great things. I was writing another book, and I had gone to California many times, and I had met with Jack Canfield, who was a friend when I started my books and still is today. He's a wonderful human. And I was on his talk show, and I was really on the verge of going to my next level. And then COVID hit, the pandemic. So many of you during this time had to stop everything that you did, and you had to regroup or reconnect. It was like a pause that was put all through the world. But this pause I needed, because sometimes things happen in our life, and it's moments that we have to step back and reflect, because maybe we're moving too fast, and maybe you're missing the clarity and the focus and your purpose. So what happened was I started another business with a friend, because we needed to share our message with the world and help others. And we created a podcast that we would just share positive personal development. But I realized when 2021 started that time with me was over, because it wasn't what my clarity and my focus had been in 2019. And it wasn't the direction that I wanted to go. I'm all about leadership, helping leaders moving forward, sharing their voice, sharing their message. And yes, creating value from it for themselves, because it's the value that we give is the value that we get back. So helping you create multiple streams of income and help you have a viable business that is going to produce more value in your life, more money. So it was very hard for me to say no, but I went back to the focus. What was I going to focus on? We were both in different industries. We were both in different trajectories. She did not have the same vision that I had when 2021 started. And I said no. And it was something that was very hard for me. I said, I'm not moving forward. We need to just, go our separate ways. And once I did that, my entire business resurfaced. It flourished. It opened up, and it blossomed to the point where I wouldn't have been able to do that in 2019 if I wouldn't have gone through the experience of having that pause and taking like a sideline in 2020. So my message to all of you is, don't ever think of anything that you do as a failure. Think of it as an opportunity to begin again in a different way. And that's a very important message, because many times people think, oh my goodness, my business didn't pan out. Oh my goodness, I didn't get the job. That's my dream job. Oh my goodness, the person that I thought was going to be my business partner didn't happen. Or, oh my goodness, on a personal note, the woman that I wanted to marry or the man that I wanted to marry doesn't want to marry me. See, these are things that sometimes we just think that has to be, but we have to have trust and intuition, because sometimes there's a bigger, greater message and opportunity right around the corner. So I want you to make sure that you're always leading yourself first, that you have clarity, that you have focus, and that you have resilience. And if you look at these three, I want you to look at them like a wheel, because first you have clarity. And part of that is you have to have time to have clarity. On a daily basis, I'm going to give you some tricks for you to do. Have a journal and write. I have a gratitude journal that I write down all the things that I'm grateful for every day. And I have a clarity journal to keep me on track, because there's times in your life that I don't want to say that you're lost, but maybe things aren't going in the direction that you thought that they wanted to be. And we get disappointed, don't we? But if you have a clarity journal and you write down those days that you're really uber clear, that you are in your best A game, then when you have those moments that you doubt yourselves, you can go back and look at the clarity that you've written down, and you will go back. It's like a roadmap on the road that you need to be on. With that, we have focus. And those 3 little exercises that I gave you, actually it's 4. You do it, You delegate it, you dump it, or you say no. And as leaders, it's really important because when you're leading teams, especially if you're very good, other people, other bosses, other colleagues are going to want you to do some of their work for them. It used to happen to me all the time. And yes, I had a very large team and I could delegate a lot of my responsibilities, but at the end I was still responsible for those responsibilities. So many times I would do what I had to do. I would delegate with my team. I would dump it. It was something that, like I said, on my business side, that it didn't align with me anymore. I would dump it if I knew that that was something that wasn't in my vision house or my clarity house to move forward, or I would just say no. And now I am so clear and I am saying no, because if it's not in the three things that I do for others, which is help them with their intellectual property, right, speak, and profit from their knowledge, then I have to say no. And sometimes I have friends that do what they're looking for and I'll refer out. And the last piece is resilience, because as leaders and moving forward in the new future world, we have to have resilience. We are getting information all over and all around us. Our world is just inundated with data and information. And sometimes we lose sight of the human touch, right? We miss that connection. You know, you make a phone call to call someone and it's like nobody answers on the other end. Everybody just wants you to text, or you call a company because you need help. And what happens? You get an automated AI bot asking you, how are you doing today? And you really don't want to talk to a bot. You want to talk to a human. So resilience is important, and always follow your intuition and always have faith, because these are the three keys to leading yourself first. And you have to put yourself first. Think about it when you're flying. You're on an airplane, and right before they take off, they do the whole simulation of if something happens, right? The safety protocol. And if the cabin gets under a certain pressure, what do they say? Put your mask on first, and then you can help your children or other people that are in your family that may need help, or it could be an elderly person that's sitting next to you. But they always say, put your mask on first. And with the Lead Yourself program, this is what I'm saying to you. You need to lead yourself first. Know your clarity. Know where you're going. Get a roadmap. Stay focused on that roadmap and stay resilient. No matter what happens, stay resilient and have an observation when you have challenges and obstacles. Look at it from a different direction and move forward. So this is Shelly Grace. I'm so happy to be here with you today. And I think we're going to have a little time to answer questions from the audience.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this beautiful presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Yeah. There are some questions, ma'am. After we
Okay.
have clarity, we talked about you talked about clarity, right? So
Yes.
after we have clarity, then what to do? Sometimes we move backward because of thinking of society, what the society will tell, how it will respond, and we move backward. Yes. So what we can do for that, ma'am?
Okay, this is a very important question. So you have clarity, you know where you're going, but all of a sudden the people around you are saying, you're not going there, right? Many times we have to have resilience when this happens, because we need to see, all right, what is it that we really want? We need to have a conversation with ourselves. And I'm going to tell you that sometimes when you're growing, when you're moving forward, the other people that are around you, they don't want you to go, because they want you to be with them. We start in life through life. And let's say you have your first job. And in your first job, you have all these wonderful colleagues that work with you. But all of a sudden, you know that you're a lot smarter and you know that you have a lot more opportunity. You need to go forward and you need to move. You need to follow your intuition and you need to have faith. You can still be friends with these people, but you can't let them hold you back. Because here's what happens. And I'm going to give you another quote that I love. Life is what happens when you're busy doing other things. So life goes by, 10 years go by, and now you're still in the same job with the same colleagues that are holding you back. Now the opportunities that you had when you were 30 aren't there when you're 42. So you have to take a moment and reflect. And this is part of clarity. Sometimes we want to move forward and people are holding us back. They're criticizing us. They're telling us that there's no way we can do something. That's where the resilience come in and the focus. And sometimes friends are going to go away. People are going to just, they're going to move on. But it just depends what you want for you. It's very, very important. And many times when you're moving forward, there are people, think of a bridge. This is a great analogy. So you're in this position, and it could even be in your family, and your family members are telling you no because they're afraid. A lot of times people say no because they're fear of the new. Nobody likes change, right? So they're in fear of the new. They don't know how you're going to change. They don't know the person that you're going to become if you get that promotion, if you leave your job and start your own company. So what you have to do is you have to think of a bridge. So you have the people on one side of the bridge that are with you, and the other people, it could be one or two people that are on the new side of the bridge where you want to go. And many times the people on the other side help pull us because they're giving us positive motivation. They're like, yes, you can do this. So it helps you move forward, and it's going to take time. And it just depends on the person that you are. Some people don't care and they just say, I'm doing it anyways, and they move forward. Other people, because of whatever reason, it takes them a little longer. But I always want you to go back to your why and your purpose. Because the worst thing anybody can do for themselves is hold themselves back. And that's why you see so many people in a job that they're unfulfilled. They're getting sick. They have health issues because they haven't followed their passion and their purpose. I hope that helped.
Yes, absolutely, ma'am. According to you, ma'am, which is harder, to lead others or to lead yourself?
Which is harder?
Yeah.
They're both just as hard. I love that. I love that. That's great. Leading adults can be tricky. There's an art to leadership. And the best leaders know how to engage their followers. And it's the art of leadership, right? The followers think that they are, you include the people in the plan, but at the end, you're the one that has to lead. Because if things go wrong, you're the one that's going to have to step up to the plate.
Yes.
So it's a balance. And the best answer that I can give you is you have to lead yourself first to have the resilience, the focus, and the clarity to lead others. You need to know who you are, and you need to stand in your why. Because when you're leading people, they're going to challenge you. When I led my teams, at times I had one of the situations that I had that gave me a promotion because of it. I was working in a division as a principal. I had opened up another really big school, and I had 3 assistants, right, that would help me run the school. And 2 of the assistants were always against me. Oh my gosh. Every day they would be undermining me. They would be questioning me. And I stood my ground. I was very focused. I was very clear, and I was resilient. And because of that, always remember this, people are watching. If you're in a situation and you have a lot of difficulty, people are watching. And an opportunity came up for a promotion, and I got it because I was able to deal with the difficult personalities and the difficult situations and not get flustered, not look like if I was going to turn around and scream at somebody. So because I held my ground, and it wasn't easy, it took a lot of resilience. But leading others is just as hard as leading yourself. Why? Because we put ourselves last. We are sometimes too tired, and it's a circle. If you're a leader, you have to take care of yourself so that you can lead others. And you have to know yourself so that you can lead others, and you don't have other people telling you what to do. You have to have a strong backbone, because if not, you're not going to be successful. And in the end, they'll take your job. So I hope this was clear for you.
Yes, ma'am. So I think it's not a one-day job to start to have a clarity, then to focus, and then for resilience, right?
Yes, yes. It's an ongoing thing. It's like waking up and drinking water and brushing your teeth. It's every day you have to work on it. Every day.
Yes, and it is quite difficult to have clarity. Then after having clarity, I think it's more difficult to have focus on that thing.
Yes, it is. But the resilience comes in. The resilience is the glue. And
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
what I want everybody to know. The
Yes,
resilience is the glue.
yes. How can we cope up with the resilience, ma'am?
Say that again. How can we what?
Cope up with the resilience part.
Couple with
Cope
a
up, cope
resilience.
up. Yes, cope up with the resilience.
Say that again. I didn't get clear.
How, yes, how can we cope up with the resilience, ma'am? After having clarity, yes, we move on to focus, right? Then
Right.
how can we cope up for the resilience?
Well, resilience is internal. And resilience always has to do with our inner core, our strength, our fortitude, what we are made of. And many times, I know that during the most difficult times in my life, I've always resolved to my faith, because faith gives me that, that resilience too. But to get the resilience, like I said, you've got to take care of yourself, because if you're tired and if you're stressed and if you're overwhelmed and you don't have time for yourself, the resilience is going to be a lot harder to tap into. So everybody has challenges. Situations come in. You have business challenges, you have family challenges, you have money challenges. Challenges come in. But that resilience, and you have to have faith and you have to have intuition. Because if you're on a path and things aren't going well, then you have to take a step back and realize why. And many times, like I said, that resilience is the glue. You tap into it through your intuition and your faith. That's how you stay focused to resilience.
Okay, so we have to give time for ourselves, right?
Yes, exactly.
So
Exactly.
go on for meditation and yoga. I think that will be fruitful for it.
Yes, absolutely. And even during the day, taking time to just take a moment and just to reflect. It doesn't have to be, it could just be like 3 to 4 minutes that you just take time for a pause. You just shut your electronics, you don't look at your phone, and you just reconnect with who you are. That also helps us with our resilience, our clarity, and our focus. It's just that downtime that we never seem to get because of the world that we're living in. Step outside, look at the sky, look at the grass, just smell the air, just take a moment just to reconnect with who you are. And that helps like you have no idea.
To be with nature also.
Yes, to be with nature, it brings you back. It's very grounding to be with nature, and it puts everything into perspective. And I think now, because of what we went through in 2020, I think we do have a different perspective on life and on how we should move forward. Not in the frenzy state that we were doing, not talking to some family and friends for days or weeks. It's so important to cherish life, because life is you can never get back your time. That's something that I want everybody to know. You can never get back your time. It's
Yes,
gone.
yes, I agree with that. That we cannot get back the time
Yes,
that we have
exactly.
missed. Yes, and you also said about writing the notes, right?
Yes.
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 So can you elaborate that thing, ma'am?
The writing the journals of the
Yes,
clarity book.
yes,
Okay, so it's really important to keep a journal. But I like to keep a journal for little things. Like, let's say you want more clarity in your life. So start writing down what it is that you want and how you're going to achieve this clarity. Because when you start doubting yourself, let's say you want a whole new job, or you want a whole new career, or you want to start a business, or you want to move to a new place, how you need to be very clear, and you need to set that intention and write it down and keep focused, because sometimes things don't happen overnight. They take time. And we are in the instant world in the instant economy where we want things to happen overnight. And you'd be surprised. I like to write things down and track them because when we do, we can see the growth that we've had. And that goes with the money, that goes with your clarity, that goes with your gratitude. The more you track, the more you get back because you stay focused, you see it. Because many times we get up and we go, we work, we're on and on and on and on, and we don't have time to sit back, reflect, and to really see how far we've come. So I like writing down things and then reflecting and looking back at them and celebrating your successes. We don't celebrate us enough. We have to do that. It doesn't mean we have to have a big party. I mean, we could, but just taking a moment, and this is part of leading yourself first, to celebrate how awesome you are, to celebrate how great, you've done in the last 3 months. So very important.
Yes, we can also celebrate our failure, madam. I think it's not an issue.
And I'm so glad that you brought that up because sometimes a failure is an opportunity to do it again. When I started writing that first book, I took some time off of work because I really wanted to be focused, and I cried the whole time. I was so scared. I was getting out of my comfort zone. I didn't have the support from my job with my secretaries and people to delegate things to. But you know what it taught me? It taught me that I grew. I grew as an individual. And many times when we're growing, we go through pain. We go through being afraid. We go through, like somebody asked the question of, how can you stay in clarity when people are holding you back? This is all part of growth. And some people forge through this period. It's like working out and getting your muscles to a point where they hurt and you can't go to the gym. But there's a tipping point. If you continue going, there's a point where your muscles get nice and you don't hurt anymore. The same is for personal development and for growing ourselves.
Yes. So we should celebrate. And if it's failure,
Yes.
we should again move on.
Absolutely.
Don't step backward, but we have to move on.
Yes.
Yes, it's true, I think.
Yes, I agree.
Yes. Why is it hard to lead ourselves, ma'am?
Why is it hard to lead ourselves? Because we always let other people lead us. Think about it. If you're a woman, you're in charge of your family, you have kids, you're married, or your girlfriends, people are always telling you what to do. And sometimes it depends on our society. If you start going against that, then they're going to look at you like, what's wrong? Your family is saying. So there's an art to this because we don't have to be conflictive or confrontational. We could just say it that, we're growing and we're learning and we're moving in a positive direction for us. So it's very hard because we get sidetracked, we get distracted. We always look at the other person like, oh my gosh, maybe they have a better life, or maybe I need to have a business like they do. And we lose track of our clarity and our focus because we're always chasing, that shiny object syndrome or your fear of losing out on something. So it's hard to lead yourself first. It takes a lot of resilience because you have to be very clear. And maybe the friends that you used to love to have around and to be with, they're not serving you anymore. They're talking about the same things. They're negative. And you're a very positive person and you are going places and you have a vision of starting your own company. But every time you start talking to them, they bring you down. So you have to make a hard choice. Either, you don't listen to them, which is sometimes hard to do, or you stop hanging around them little by little. That's leading yourself first. You have to have a hard conversation with you and say, these are my non-negotiables. I don't want to continue being, playing small. I want to grow. I want to go into a bigger city. I want to get a bigger promotion. I want to start my business and I have an opportunity to maybe go into a partnership with someone that it's going to, I'm going to scale it to 7 or 8 figures. But you have to let go. You have to cut those ties. It's like when you were growing up and you were living at home with your mom and dad. And all of a sudden you started, becoming independent. And there was a point that you realized that you really wanted to venture out in the world and not live at home anymore. The same thing goes. So leading yourself first, you have to take care of where you're going and who you are, and having resilience to have those hard conversations with people that are holding you back.
Yes. Absolutely. You gave an example that we are living with our parents and we want to move on, right? But
Yes,
parents are
exactly.
parents are saying no. You have to stay with with us. So at that time,
Exactly.
it is difficult to move forward.
Exactly. Right.
Especially
And
in
then,
Indian culture. In Indian culture, parents do not allow children to stay alone and all that thing.
right,
To
right.
be
My culture
independent.
too. Right.
Okay.
Exactly. But here's the key, everybody. It's the word guilt, because many times we feel guilty, or our friends or family make us feel guilty, or our colleagues make us feel guilty. And you have to take that word guilt and you have to analyze it. Because why are you feeling guilty if you just want to better yourself? So think about that one. If you want to better yourself, and in the end you say to your family, look, if I'm bettering myself, trust me, you're going to be included in the betterment of me. I'm going to help you too. So sometimes when you do that, they kind of let go a little bit, right? They let you move a little forward.
So I think we should have confidence in ourselves first, so we can have a conversation. Those who are telling no to us, and we can move to follow our dreams.
Yes, no, exactly, exactly. And that's a hard line. And sometimes people don't have the resilience to do it. And 30 years go by and they look back and then they have regrets. So I want everybody to think about when you're 90 years old and you're sitting in that rocking chair, right? And you're looking back on your life. Are you going to have any regrets? That's what I want all of you to think about. And that's the fire that I'm going to put under you to move you forward.
And if you have any regrets, then be positive in life.
It's true. Yes.
Yes. Um, and the last one, ma'am, how can we lead ourselves effectively? I think we have
Effectively.
discussed it. Yes, but you can elaborate that one also.
No, absolutely. You need to lead yourself first. It means you have to take care of yourself. You have to eat well. You have to exercise. You have to live a holistic life. You can't be partying till hours of the night. You can't be tired. You can't be stressed. Don't stick around negative people that put you down. Don't involve yourselves in activities that are going to take away from your value. Shine your light in the world. So you have to guard your energy. You have to know who you are by saying no. Don't spread yourself so thin that there's nothing of you left to give back to the world. So you have to have these hard conversations. And it's just something that sometimes you learn through trial and error. Sometimes things happen to make you think. When I was going through a time in my life where I was extremely busy and very scattered, guess what happened? I broke my foot, because that was a way of God telling me, you need to sit and rest. You can't be all over the place. So sometimes those little signals, because we always get red flags, right? But do we listen to them? And then sometimes it's like, okay, now I'm going to make you sit in a chair for like 2 months because you weren't listening to me. So right, it's like, okay, now I need to sit and listen. So it's things like that you have to be very aware, so that it doesn't get to that extreme. But just feel how your energy level is. If you need to sleep, sleep. Sometimes we go and we take sleep away from our lives, and that's not a good thing to lead. It's not a good thing to lead yourself first, because you show up exhausted. And that's where people start breaking you down, because if you don't have your resilience, and it's part of rest, you have to have a good 8 hours or whatever it takes you to feel refreshed the next morning, hours of sleep.
Yes, so move away from comfort zone also, right?
Yes,
To achieve
yes.
all of our dreams, we have to move from our comfort zone.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. When I was studying at Harvard, we were given an exercise, and I'm going to share this story because it's really funny. So I've always been a student, and I love to study. So I went with notebooks and all kinds of things prepared for the classroom. And the classroom was the wilderness. They put us out in the middle of the woods to do all these exercises that I thought I wasn't going to be able to do, but I did. And one of the exercises was they put a circle around the floor, like a rope, and you would have to be inside of the circle. And it was about your comfort zone. So I always want you to think about an imaginary circle around you, kind of like around, your body on the floor. And how you're going to move out of that circle is how you're going to move forward. So you have to feel uncomfortable. It's going back to working out. Some of you love to work out. Some of you don't like it. I do it, but it's not like something that I'm like, yes, let's go work out kind of a person. So it has to feel uncomfortable. When you feel that uncomfortableness, when you're questioning if you're on the right path, you're on the right path. So just think about that, because you're getting out of your comfort zone. New things aren't easy. When you're up leveling yourself in a job and you get a higher position, it's scary, right? You're like, oh my gosh, am I going to do a good job? Absolutely. You wouldn't have gotten it if they didn't have trust and knew that you could do it. But it's just a whole new thing. For the women out there that love shoes, it's like buying a pair of new shoes and having to wear it around the house to break it in before you can walk outside with them. Same thing. All right. Same thing.
Yes, ma'am. You are giving very good examples.
Yes, it's true, but that's life. Life is very simple. We're the ones that complicate it.
Yes, we are making it complicated. Otherwise, it's very simple to live.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. So we have learned today very good thing that we must have clarity in life, and it is more important after clarity to focus on that part to achieve
Yes.
all our dreams and
Yes.
be resilient, right?
Yes, very much so. Very important. Very important.
Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us your valuable time.
It was great being
It
here.
was
Thank
very
you so
nice
much for having
talking with you. It was very nice talking with you, ma'am.
Great. Thank you so much. And you can always find me on ShellyGrace.com or Shelly@ShellyGrace.com. If you have any questions or, anything that you'd like to ask me, you can email me there.
Sure, ma'am. We'll forward the message to our students and faculties also.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. I would like to thank you, the HOD of our department, Mr. Hemal Patel, sir, the HOI of our institute, Professor Jatin Vaidya, sir, Academic Director of our institute, Dr. Mahesh Bhatt, sir, and President of our university, Dr. Devanshu Patel, sir, for motivating and supporting us continuously. Last but not least, I would like all the participants to thank you that they have joined this webinar. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I wish you all a great day full of clarity, focus, and resilience.
Resilient. Yes. Bye, ma'am.
Bye-bye.